Yes. So we are learning, yes, Eastern wisdom, and now we have reached to a stage where uh, we follow simply the 40 steps. Why we have to follow the 15 steps? But before that, Om Sahana Vavatu. Remember, Om Sahana Vavatu. सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. You have not to take it as religiously, as a cult and a dogma. You have to go and find the meaning of it. There is no religion cult dogma. May we both be blessed. If I say that, or I say that you are crazy and I'm good, which one is better? There has to be some logic and reasoning behind. Let us see. May we both enjoy. How you can enjoy? If your goal is clear, that I want to awaken to my real self. I want to leave the delusion and ignorance. The more you contemplate, this verse will give you deeper insight. Just see, think of it. Sahaviryam karva vahe. I will keep my intellect over the mind. So that brings the clarity over the mind. Why we put a leash on the dog? Why don't the human beings? To confine the territory of either the cows or dogs and other animals or horses. We create a fence to confine the territory, maybe for grazing. Our senses are not at all confined. So the process of that needs to be understood. In the beginning, we need to confine that territory. And once we confine that territory, we are free now. Why we are free? We are not driven by the senses and the mind. I am driving the senses and the mind. I am driving the car, no accident. Car is driven, car drives me, there is an accident. Let's see. I'm making more very simple. So I need to contemplate and reflect. Tejasvina vadhitamastu. My intellect should make a choice, the right and the good choice. First, righteous intellect. So, if the righteous intellect, I have made a choice and I don't see, oh, I'm still in sorrow and the suffering, so let me have a dispassion, dispassion intellect. And once I have a dispassion intellect, I recognize that my senses and the mind are driving me. That is why I am criticizing others. That is why I am reacting to others. That is why I am in a delusion. Critical evaluation is one thing to learn. So now you see, how do you see that entire knowledge of the Eastern wisdom? Never forget this, what I am going to say now, because it will continue to inspire you and motivate you. And that has motivated me. You study mathematics, so bank balance, CD, and checking account. So I understand the calculation. So why do we calculate outside? Mathematics is meant for the external world. Physics is meant for the external world. Chemistry and the biology, the physiological, and but knowledge of the Eastern wisdom is like a mirror. Why it is like a mirror? You stand before the mirror. Do you see the mirror or do you see yourself? Once we have seen the mirror, the shape and the size, we have put it, placed it. Now every time we stand before the mirror, we see ourselves. Knowledge of the Eastern wisdom is like a mirror in which I see myself. You remember this every day and repeat only once, it becomes a very simple and easy journey. I see in every principle, I see myself where I am standing. Not in physics, chemistry, and biology, and other stuff. That is the biggest difference between the knowledge of the self discovery or Eastern wisdom and the knowledge of the world outside. So, there the teacher comes. The teacher helps you to see. He customizes, he personalizes that teaching based on the individual and the group. That is the only thing we do. Otherwise, we continue to follow the same teachings of the teacher every time. So the master says, I should remain alert and attentive of what I'm learning. It means I'm seeing myself. So in that process, you have heard from me many a times. I have been saying, did you practice the japa from the last session until today? When you wake up in the morning, did you remember the japa? Because I want to see myself. Om Shanti, Om Shanti. No, Om stress, Om stress. My mind is really upset. So I have forgotten to see myself in line with these principles, and then I forget. There are a lot of things, my mind is little bit deviated. You see, the first, I don't see the reality. That is ignorance. But when I don't see the reality, then what happens? Then that reality is veiled by the opposite knowledge. Two things. I'll discuss in detail, but I'm just giving it. Oh, you are crazy. So this crazy is the opposite knowledge. First, I have the ignorance about that person. And second is, my mind creates an opposite knowledge, how bad you are, how crazy you are. But what is that ignorance? All human beings are same. Are you getting it? All human beings are same. No, but he is not a good person. Why? Because he did not meet my expectations. Oh, so that person is meant to meet your expectations. That person is born to meet your expectations. Do you see the process of the mind? How the mind works in delusion and ignorance? It takes only a fraction of a second to get rid of it. So this master has structured, organized these 40 steps in daily life. All those steps points to myself, my self-discovery. It starts with how to think, speak, and act. How to perform. It does not say which action. It does not say don't go to the bar. That becomes a religious teaching. Do's and don'ts are not there. Whatever action you do, with what attitude you should do the action. That is the beauty. That is the beauty. 20 years ago, when I first started understanding this text, and I said, oh, this will, if I see the Eastern wisdom as a mirror in which I see myself and follow these steps, you are there. There is no chance. You will definitely be there. We have been, you understand, we have been understanding the pranayama, pratyahara, discernment. That is what we have been doing in every session and practice also. And then we have the japa, we are doing the japa and the meditation. So I connected the previous text with this text, meditation. Why the ultimate goal, ultimate practice of any of Eastern wisdom or any schools of Eastern wisdom is meditation. So a few weeks ago I gave a reference from the Gita that what are the steps by which we can enter into the highest meditation. And now we will look ourselves into the mirror of Eastern wisdom to see where I am lacking, what I missed in this journey. So you have to be mindful. You have to be. Once you listen to the talk, you have to repeat it. You have to understand it. That's why the teacher is there. How do you take the teacher? You see, everything has been beautifully understood. We are real self. So the teacher acts as a representative of your real self. That is why you should love the teacher. There is no other reason. Because he only talks about your real self. No, but can I talk to my real self? Real self does not have the mind, intellect, and the senses to talk. That is why you need a representative to talk. That is why we have master and disciple tradition. Did you understand? That is why we have a master and a seeker. Master and a traditional wisdom says no. So there the teacher is not a professor or academician, teaches in Harvard or MIT. He represents. How he represents? Because he strictly adheres to the teachings of the Eastern wisdom. He wants us to see into the mirror of this knowledge who we are and who we are not. So in that line, in that tradition, first we have started, I said 4 groups of practices. Now if you do not understand these 4 groups, your mind will jump here and there. First group is the world is suffering, samsara is suffering. Buddha says. So I have underlined the 9 different causes of the suffering. So it means let me look myself into this mirror of knowledge. Am I attached? Oh yes. What will happen to you if you are following the teaching daily and regularly and you are upset on a given day and your mind, now you are moving into the second step, that is satsang. Your mind will remind you, oh, I have a lot of expectations from this situation, an event, or a person. That is why I am upset. The moment you remember that upset is not, I can bet you. But in order to have that mindset, I have to be a seeker. If I'm not a seeker, it will not work. No, I've been learning from you for the last 2 years, nothing happened to you. You are responsible. I'm representing your real self. The real self is of the nature of peace and happiness. Why you think that I'm separate from you? You're responsible. I'm telling you, all are seekers. So my master, you say, no, you're responsible. I did not teach you anything. I help you to manifest that knowledge which is already present in you. I gave an example. Mind is upset and suddenly you recognize. So I need to understand those 9 factors which causes the world is suffering, and at the same time, satsang. That satsang results into detachment. So what exactly happened? We try to force, no, I will detach from this and I will not eat and I will do the fasting. I am undergoing a detoxification. Or detoxify your mind and then you do other detoxification. That will work. So because of that satsang, now you one thought passes, you had an expectations and you don't recognize it. That is why you are deluded and that is why you are upset. Now by the satsang, you recognize that I have an expectations. That is why I am upset. So what happens? Result is detachment. You are calm. So detachment is not something you need to force. It is also an awareness. It is also a knowledge. Why I'm talking, because I have to start with these 40 steps. I'm making you aware that these basics have to be very clear. And now you see that the out of the third out of the 4 groups is what I said, the realization or experiences. Now, because of the awareness of the detachment, you already have an experience that your upset has gone. You are not no longer upset. And then our master says, self remembering has to be there. That self remembering, I am relating it to the 7th of the Eightfold Path of Buddhism. Self remembering is meditation. So, with every event outside, situation and challenges outside, you can be into that state. I just explained only the 4 groups. Now you see that you are repeating this. You are repeating these 4 groups in your daily life. You remember this. What happens? I'm talking about what qualities present in your intellect. I explained you the mirror. This guy is a mirror. So what happens? You are repeating all those 4 groups in your daily life. You recognize oh, this factor is responsible for my upset and anxiety and pain and suffering. Oh, I followed the satsang, I have an experience and now I have to remember. So now you see who is doing this? Who is doing this? I am doing. No, not I am. It is your intellect is doing. So there is a mental purification. Oh, that is why you talked about the 4 types of intellect? Answer is yes, the righteous intellect, the dispassion intellect, the love intellect, and the real self intellect. It is not the principle. Foreign principles are not there. It is yours, own. You possess them. What the teacher is doing, teacher helping you to remind. Teacher is just reminding you. Well, if you remember and continue, so now you see that. Now you see the process, progression. What we say, the progression. So now you have 4 types of intellect, which is following these 4 groups of practices. So why I did not put it before? there is no need to put before. First, we have to see the daily life and living. Wake up in the morning and I feel tired. Oh, I have an obsession with the body. There was some deep attachment to the body. Let me do it. Let me take care of it. So this four types of intellect is working constantly, and then what happens? Will you have more faith in the pleasure-seeking mind, or will you have a faith, power of faith in your intellect? No, hold me. Mind, I will drive you. Don't drive me. See, so you see that there is a power of faith. Pay attention. Power of decision. Now this power of faith results into the power of a decision. I was upset. Next moment, I follow the path of discernment. I am detached, and from the detached, I have an experience. I have an experience of the calmness, and I remind myself that is the journey. So I'm looking in myself into the mirror. That gives me a tremendous faith to myself. So my intellect says, no, I will continue to hold this wisdom when 24 by 7, when I'm talking to my honey, when and where, all the time. Does it take anything to hold on to this awareness and knowledge all the time? It doesn't take anything. If it doesn't take anything, it is just play and the fun. You are the higher level of a seeker. So the intellect gains that attitude, power of faith, power of decision. Decision for what? No, I will be crazy, I will be upset. No, that is not your decision. The decision to remain in peace and calmness. Power of a decision, and the power to hold on the mind. That is why where I started the talk. Power to hold on to the mind. And I started whether the senses drives me, mind drives me, or I drive it. Car drives me or I drive the car. Then I gave an example that all the animals are dictated by the nature, programmed by the nature. Because of absence of intellect, we have to have a leash. We have to have a confining the territory of them. What about us? We also have many gray areas. Don't tell that, I'm very. We all have some gray areas. We need a leash. So these principles will act as a leash. But that leash is very natural. You start working through the intellect. So the power of faith, power of decision, power to hold on the mind. Power to hold on the mind is the beginning of a meditation. And the continuity of that, where you reach to the objectless state and the awakening takes place. So don't take these principles so in a very simple way. No, no. Now see, understand clearly before going into the 40 steps. They look very simple. They look very casual principles, but they are not. The master worked, if I say, the master who wrote this text, he lived only until 32 years of age and he has written only 200 books. And the master, every master refers directly or indirectly. I don't want to name even the great American speakers. When they talk, I can immediately point out, oh, this guy is referring this. principle. They claim that I have created. But that is not the journey of the Eastern wisdom. Anyhow, now you see that. So once you have a power of a faith, power of a decision, power to hold on to the mind, and power to regulate, these are the four powers we get. So what exactly it happens by these four powers? That particular attitude comes by the knowledge become famous in your mind. That is how this master explains. What was the mind famous earlier? Earlier, it used to get upset. It was very famous. That's why we say, "Oh, don't talk to this guy. He will be upset." No, 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 don't talk. He will react. Don't talk. So I am famous for that attitude, but now my mind is famous for a different attitude. So the word being the means that intellect becomes the famous. Famous not in a social media. But now it becomes famous. Understand, the entire process takes less than a minute. You are a great seeker. I believe you are. I believe what I want to convey, you are getting it. So what happens? You are upset. There is some sense of emotional dependence. Now detachment is there. The emotional dependence is gone. It evaporated. It sublimated. The intellect recognizes this attitude of your mind again and again, repeatedly. Result? Repeatedly. The impurities of the mind has gone. Now that mind will start acting as a mirror. But in that state, you don't see there are others. There are only oneness is there. And in that state of the oneness, there is a natural state of helpfulness, caring and sharing each and every one. The Buddha did not have a compassion, but he cannot prevent himself not to have a compassion. There's a difference. Huh? So don't think otherwise. He was full of compassion, but he could not prevent himself because now that real self is manifesting in his intellect, in his mind, through the sense organs. So when he perceives the world outside, I was talking to a young guy in a private lesson. Yeah, I should talk. Your highest. They said, you see a beautiful girl. That is your first perception of attraction. There is another perception. You see the same beautiful girl. In Indian mythology, we depict women as goddesses. So your perception has changed. But now your mind is very pure and clear. The intellect is following the path of the Eastern wisdom. You don't see, even you don't discriminate between the man and the woman, the girl and the boy. You see a conscious entity, the real self. Your entire perception of the world changes. And that perception overwhelms you with the compassion and love. It is not that you are compassionate. And I have heard that, people start doing the practice of compassion. How can you do the practice of compassion? Can you practice love? You await, you wait for that to manifest. And that I explained briefly with the 5E process. I'm reminding you in a different way: engagement, empowerment, evolution, and light. Only the 5 steps you can say. These 40 steps are there. But what is the most important to remember? The 5S. Behind the 5S, all these practices are there. Sadhana, the practices. I recognize what is the practice? I just gave an example. You are upset. Satsang, discernment, and you recognize. Upset because of the expectations. Oh, and I recognize that expectation of my peace and the joy is inside. So I drop it, and the joy and peace is already inside. Do you see that? You experience. It happens in a. So that now all the seekers of this session should be doing this practice. If you say this is the practice, your intellect and the mind work, it is gone. That is the meaning of the second S, that you are a great seeker. What you are seeking? If you are a seeker, I'm seeking the real self. So I remember, my mind remembers. In my thought, in my speech, in my action, internally, I'm following any profession, anything. Goal of life is the same. Your intellect is now famous with one goal. Now you see how you have to connect all this. So that is the third one. And the fourth one, so you start getting the perfection, a kind of perfection in one event, in the second event, a progression. So the master says the fifth S, you are recognized as a monk inside. Monk inside. Monk inside because of the transformation of the body, mind, and the intellect. You have reached to the higher level of a purity of the mind. So all these 40 steps are embedded in this teaching. I'm just laying a foundation. We need to have these required qualifications. Hence, these last 10 or 15 sessions are very important. Let us close your eyes and we will start our practice. I have no restriction. You can note down anything that you want to note. These are the teachings easily available everywhere. So eyes are closed gently. Are you aware of your eyes, or you're squeezing? Place of the body, aware of the place of the body. The space all around the body. And the 5 sense organ are open always open. One-sided windows is open. That is what the sense organ is there. In a waking state, they will definitely pick up these objects of their respective senses organs. So you are just, you are settled now in a position of the body. Mind is not ready to react or respond to any object of the senses. That is why we say place, position, and the posture. The posture means that now, senses, you cannot drive me. So being comfortable, you have already understood being comfortable. Being comfortable simply means that you have changed the direction of the mind. Mind is looking outside in the world, and the world has people, objects, time, relations, events, and they run into millions. Now you change the direction, you are looking at your body, joints, looking deep inside and experiencing the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. And you are carefree also. Why you are carefree? You have nothing to do with any thought, feeling, and emotions pertaining to the world. So I should have that level of not on clarity in the intellect, and that knowledge becomes the practice. And then we check it. For a higher level of a seeker has an ability to check it. Awareness of the space around the body. Then you are aware of the body. You may feel the sensation. You see, I'm just guiding you casually so that you are also casual but attentive, as if the meditation will take over you, not you are meditating. That is another meaning that all meditation are effortless and natural. So you are aware of the body, you are aware of the breath, deeper than the body. Breath, you're looking at the breath, you're aware of the breath, you're aware of the flow of the breath, all these. And then you're aware of the thought, feeling, and emotions. Unwanted thought, undesirable thought comes, but they do not touch you. Car blows the horn, you are aware of it, but you know it is outside it. They are driving, they'll go away. Same thing with the thought, feeling, and emotions. Behind that, or deeper than that, there is an intellect and I-ness. Intellect is watching all this, and behind that intellect and the I-ness, that is what we want to find out. So we have made it very clear to the mind it is an inner journey. So it is not an outer journey. Even if any thought, undesirable thought enters into your mind, then what? Every thought has some object that pertains to the world. You become aware and that thought leaves you. And in that state, we are putting this mantra Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. May there be happiness for all. So in the previous step, what you did, you wanted to find out what is beyond the intellect and the I-ness is what we are doing in Mangalacharana. May there be happiness for all. I'm helping you to connect all the dots of each step. So it's a smooth sailing. Oh, happiness is our essential nature. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. May there be peace for all. The way I am calm in peace at this moment, I should never allow my mind to be deluded that this peace is the product of sitting in a particular posture. But it is my nature. When I help the mind to receive it, it is received. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. May there be completeness and wholeness in all. Just think, the intellect, if intellect says, if I'm whole in all respects, but here, in all respects mean with reference to the peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. That is my nature, so I'm whole. When you heard this, is your mind returned deeper within you in the state of silence? Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. So then what is left? Mangalam, auspiciousness. Auspiciousness is left. So it's also a good idea that this is the stage one. Until the stage one, you should be doing couple of times every day, even with eyes open or closed. Why? You know your preparedness, you know that you have understood each and every principle, and you apply it in a different variety of a situation. But the second stage will continue. That pranayama, pratyahara, the japa, including the discernment, everything is included if you visualize clearly. So you look inside the forehead in the space. There you start dropping what? Om Shanti. Casually. Are you dropping Om Shanti casually? Yes, casually you are dropping. Body remains in the state of the stillness. Why? That pertains to the mind. And now, while doing Om Shanti, you continue breathing into the rib cage. Quick, short breath. Continue. Just continue breathing. Continue dropping Om Shanti. You know, when you find there is no harmony, there is no sync between Om Shanti, breathing, stillness in the body, it is because of the impurity of the mind. It is because of the millions of impressions. They are triggered. Continue breathing. Stillness in the body. Om Shanti continues. Om Shanti also continues. Yes. The intellect, the power to hold on. It comes from the intellect because the mind is not dictating the intellect. You have a right knowledge. Continue doing it. You remember if there is any resistance, you endure it, and in that endurance pertains to the detachment, results into the joy of doing. It increases the satoguna if you are doing with the poise in the mind, with the joy. And now stop this. Find out how the breath returns to its normal breathing pattern, awareness of the flow of the breath through both the nostrils. So we dropped from the active to a passive step. Why? To experience if the pratyahara is complete, the withdrawal is complete. Patanjali says, Pratakshiyate prakasha varnam. It removes the veil of ignorance. Here it is considered impurity. So it means the mind continues to remain within, with awareness of the flow of the breath. Just check it. And in that state, again, we will become totally passive, knowledge oriented. So you just look at the body from outside, sensation, relaxation in stillness. And then look inside the body. And signature step should be so you explore any sensation in this moment would be a state of the calmness inside the body. And the space inside the body anywhere has to do with the quietness. So gradually we will play with this. We will understand the mind is quiet means it is too far from any thought, feeling, emotions coming from outside, or what we see the undesirable or unwanted thought. They are still there, but they appear so far, too far to disturb you, too far to disturb you, quietness. Little nearer is a calmness. We feel the heat of those undesirable thoughts. I think I'm making you clear. Yes, and when we have a stillness and a relaxation experience of these two, still we are not disturbed. And that will go a long way. I'll tell you its practical applications, And now we will go into the semi-active step. Start breathing little deep, silent and slow. First you inhale into the belly and then you expand your ribs in one breath and you exhale first from the belly, then into the rib cage. One aspect is done in the stillness of the body. Then I say, at the moment you start breathing and move your mind from the top center of the head, deep inside the spine, reaching to the tailbone, singing mentally Om Shanti. That Shanti ends at the tailbone during inhalation, and from there you exhale Om Shanti. That Shanti ends at the top center of the head during exhalation. So you see, lot of things are working together. Your breath, your movement of the mind, your singing, stillness in the body, and that it is a nyas. We'll recognize the rate and the rhythm of the breath becomes very slow, very, very slow. And that slowness, slow speed of the breath helps you to realize the higher experiences. So the deep, silent, slow rhythm is maintained by the mind. If it is, obviously the mind follows the intellect or the knowledge. Intellect here also means the knowledge. And leave this. We're moving into the stage 3. Today we'll directly go to the triangle. It is all about self-absorption. Can I say deep sleep is also a self-absorption? Yes. But here it is a conscious self-absorption. I'm just hinting you, looking inside the cave of your heart, the triangle. Moving the mind on a triangle, dropping Om Shanti on each side, in a clockwise and anti-clockwise directions, to see mind is able to think, and if so, then we push the mind singing Om deep into the cave of your heart, we recognize the mind seemingly stops. We drop Shanti and absorb. As if a drop of water falling merges into an ocean, loses its identity. That is why I say that you push the mind singing home. So you are dropping. It is the mind that creates a separate identity because of ignorance. The last step of self absorption makes you clear. I'm just putting a thought that in the end, no, you need not to remember any principle. All principle becomes only one. What is that? When I'm the real self. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti. Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside the palms. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. How are you, David and Jerry?
Sir, thank you. I enjoyed the lesson. I love the comment about the teacher allowing you to see yourself, and I think that's sort of struck a chord with me. So I really appreciate that. My mind was very busy going into the meditation, but throughout the meditation, I was able to get extremely deep and come out of it very peaceful and relaxed, and the mind has gone away. So thank you.
Beautiful. You applied the principles even if the mind was running, and you succeeded in taking the mind away and absorbed into that meditation. Beautiful. Yes. If you remember even any principle, teacher is just the knowledge. That is knowledge of the East and West. So once we are aware of that, we can evolve definitely. How are you, Jerry?
Sir, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I love the lesson as well. The intellect, it really empowers the mind, so that empowered mind always sees the real self first in everybody, the sameness. And then what differentiates is that free will, that choice, that attitude. And, there are some that are on there, we're all on a different journey there with that free will and the choice and the realization. And so we don't expect people to realize, we just know their essence, and whether they realize and change their attitude and their suffering was entirely up to them.
You're right. We need not to carry the burden of the other people on our shoulders, whether near dear ones or far ones, that this guy is doing this, and let them. Because if one is not ready to listen and wants to empower the mind, we cannot do anything. But at the same time, we are living into that awareness of oneness or the sameness. So I live into that awareness of the sameness. It helps me to bring an end to the suffering. So that is why the Buddha says, so the suffering of the world comes to an end for everyone. He says no. Only those who follows the path. So Buddha says it has come to an end for me, but not for you. So when it is not for you, it means that you will continue to act or behave or think in the way, and I'm ready to receive that. I'm ready to receive from the real self, not from the ego. It's a beautiful way to put it. Thank you. How are you, Dennis?
Thank you for the lesson and for acting as a reminder for us. I must say that I have been doing this Java practice for quite a while, and what I noticed, and obviously I sometimes, many times I forget, and then many times I remember and restart. But what I noticed is that now the mind has started to do it, and I become aware of it, that mind is doing it on the background. So I'm like, oh, it is not the intellect is forcing the mind to start a job, but the mind is like working together with the intellect. It has agreed to go in line with the principles and the teaching. And as I understand, that's a kind of sign of some kind of collaboration between the two. And as far as my practice, it was very peaceful and seamless and natural. And as usual, at the end, there was a dark space, and the mind was resting in it. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful practice. And you narrated, you summarized in a beautiful way. The mind likes to collaborate with the intellect. And that mind causes this suffering. All those 9 steps, the mind wants to follow that, or mind wants to follow the intellect. So if there is a beautiful collaboration, then we are definitely going to evolve and progress easily. Beautiful. Thank you, Dennis. How are you, Barbara?
I am very good, thank you. Thank you. There's a lot to digest. My meditation was very peaceful. The breathing was effortless. I could have gone on much, much longer.
Good.
I have a question though. What is the difference between the I-ness and the real self?
That's a very beautiful question, and that's where we are progressing. The moment, whenever you say, here I am in stress, or I'm happy, this is a thought. So this thought is a part of the intellect. In that intellect, one thought is I thought. So this is what we say the ego is. First thing to understand. Pay attention, because I don't want to leave the real explanation. Now, how the mind says or intellect says I thought, in the absence of consciousness, the intellect cannot express I thought. So I can say I-ness from the intellect, or I thought from the intellect, plus the consciousness. And that consciousness is the real self. So what is the conclusion? Conclusion is this I-ness contains both. This I-ness, this I thought contains both. It contains that ego from the intellect and also the real self as consciousness. But where lies the problem? Oh, we always take I thought as me. We always take I thought as me. So when I take I thought as a me, I continue to live in ignorance and suffering. The bulb is there. That lamp is not the light. Electricity is supplied behind it. So that electricity is consciousness, without which the lamp cannot glow. So that glowing lamp is I thought, or I-ness. Think in this way. But the electricity which is hidden, that is our real nature. So we can comfortably say as a seeker that when I use the word I thought, it contains both. Dennis, it contains both. Dennis is thinking, how are you, Kristen?
Thank you. I'm feeling continued appreciation for the teachings and the mirroring of the real self, and stood out to me today expectations, the motivation around the only expectation is to come back to the real self. And I noticed just that horizontal movement deeper and deeper back to the real self.
Yes, and if there is a deeper horizontal movement, we find extreme calmness, relaxation. We are not very much concerned about getting upset on small things. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing to do. How are you, Vaibhav?
Thank you, sir. The mind was at rest. It was really calm.
Very good. Mind was at rest and calm. How are you, Terry?
The grateful for same thing that David said.
Oh, David said, good. Yeah. That's really good. So when we live into that, consciousness is independent of body, breath, mind, intellect, and I thought. And I thought comes with body, sense organ, expectations, feeling, desire, long list. How are you? Yeah. How are you, Sangeeta?
सर प्रैक्टिस बहुत पीसफुल थी सर कई बार हम जैसे घर में हैं बाकी लोग उनको चाहते हैं कि वो भी इस रास्ते पर चलें पर नहीं चलते हैं वो तो बेचैनी होती है कि वो इस रास्ते पर क्यों नहीं चलते पर वो तब होता है जब अटैचमेंट है
So first statement she made, she gets agitated why others do not follow the path of Eastern wisdom. And then her intellect says it is, oh, I'm attached to this idea. That is why I'm asking and pushing someone to follow the path of the Eastern wisdom. And the moment I realize, I become calm. Simple. It is withdrawal. That is what the knowledge of the Eastern wisdom is. You need not to do the practice. That is all for today. Thank you. We will meet again.
Thank you.